Do I need a contractor's license to flip a house? By the end of this video, you're going to know exactly when a contractor's license is required to flip a house. Also, how you can stay legal without one, and what to do instead so your flips can stay on track and on budget. So this is a question I get a lot. Glenn, do I need a contractor's license to flip a house? Well, the short answer is no, but let me explain why. I have flipped over 1,200 houses and still do 100 houses a year, and I do not have a contractor's license, so you do not need one to get started. Don't let that be a roadblock. In this video, I'm going to break down what you do need, who needs to do license work, and how to stay compliant without getting overwhelmed. So do you need a license to flip? Well, the answer is no, but you have to check with your local code enforcement to see if it's required or not. For instance, in upstate New York, where we do all of our flipping business, over 100 deals a year, it is not required to be a licensed contractor to do any kind of contracting work, which is kind of shocking because New York has lots of laws, but for some reason, that's not one of them. I really wish they did require contractors to have a permit in New York because frankly, the only thing that's kind of required now is to put a sign on the side of your truck and just say you're a contractor. I'd much rather have someone that had some kind of schooling to make sure I had good work being done at my property. It wouldn't guarantee it, but it sure might help weed out the bad ones. But there are other states where you are required to have a license. For instance, in Florida, you have to have a contractor's license to do any kind of contractor work or be able to pull permits. So it's important that you check with your local code enforcement to see if it's even a thing in your area or if it's required for any kind of work. Now, it's not required for every kind of work. As a matter of fact, in our area, there is no license required to be a general contractor. However, there is a license required to be an electrician or a plumber. These are important trades that do require licensing, and trust me, you want to have licensed people doing that kind of work. Codes and code enforcement can literally change street by street depending on what town or what city your property is located in. So be very aware of where your property is, because literally you could have a house on one street be in one town and one street over could be a different city or town that's going to require very different requirements. Some are very strict, some are very loose. It's important for you to know the difference on exactly where your property is. And that'll determine if the contractor needs a license or if the tradesmen need a license as well. Believe it or not, some areas don't even require a licensed plumber or electrician to do the work. What they do sometimes instead is you can have the work done, but it has to be inspected by a third-party inspection company to make sure it was done correctly and to code. And if it passes that inspection, they'll pass it for the overall permit. So while we're in this section, let's talk about managing versus doing the work yourself. Some people ask this question because they're saying to themselves, I want to do the work myself because I think I can make a lot more money if I do the work myself. And the truth is, you won't. Where you want to spend your time as a real estate investor is going out and looking for the next deal. That's where your time is best spent. But if you decide to do the work yourself, I would minimize the kind of work that you're doing. If you enjoy doing tile work, certainly do it because you enjoy it. Don't do it because you think you're saving money, because again, you're not. Be the general contractor for your own project and hire out the subs yourself. If licenses are required, make sure you hire licensed subs. There are plenty of people that will come through and say, I'll do it without having a permit. You know what's going to happen to you? When you go to sell that house, the lawyer or the title company is going to say, we see work was done on this house. Please show us your permits and show us your CO or your certificate of occupancy, meaning it passed inspection. If you don't have that, guess what happens to your flip? That whole deal can fall apart on the table and you start getting a bad reputation as someone who does bad flips. If you're going to be in my industry, don't do bad flips and don't do unethical kind of things like that. Make sure you just have a permit, have the licensed contractor do the work for you so you can be sure it's done correctly. So what happens if you do the work without a license and you're supposed to have one? Well, there's a very good chance that somebody will turn you in, usually a nosy neighbor, and you'll be red flagged in the job, and the inspector will come out and they will shut that job down, meaning you can't do any more work or you'll be fined every single day. Then you go to the bottom of some bureaucrat's list and they will take their time getting a permit to you. You'll be blacklisted at the local town or whatever code enforcement is there, so the next time you go for a permit, you don't get top priority. Matter of fact, they'll take their dear sweet time getting that work to you, getting that permit to you, and your work will suffer, and it will cost you a fortune. So you might think you're saving $5 or $10 or $3,000 here, but you're not. Your reputation is worth way more than that, and the amount of time you hold the job determines how much profit you make, so keep that in mind when you're making these decisions. If you're hiring contractors, you want to bring your own budget. You don't want to ask them to give you a quote. So to do that, you're going to have to know your numbers. Go watch our video, How to Evaluate a Flip Deal Like a Pro. Next, I'll show you how to evaluate renovation costs step by step so you can stay on budget, you can protect your profit, and lead with confidence. Link is right down here in the description below.